Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Balkan Shed and second episode of Stories from the Shed. This time, I wanted to talk about a topic that's kind of near and dear to me, about the quality of VA service that veterans receive. I'm a veteran myself. I've been going to VA facilities. I started going about 15 years ago, but for the past 11 years, I have been going on a regular basis. I don't even have a civilian doctor anymore, unless it's a specialist for certain things. Everything I go to VA, so I think I'm fairly qualified in the past at least 11 years uh, to tell you about my experience that I have experienced with VA services. In those past 11 years, I have gone to at least three different facilities uh, near my house where I live at. I think all three of them are within 50 miles. Uh, so I can kind of share my perspective from the experience that I have received in those three VA facilities, Veterans Administration hospitals and clinics. And one of them, it's a fairly big hospital, probably one of the biggest ones in my state. So let's start kind of from beginning, from the time you get there. Uh, for example, the biggest hospital I'm not going to mention the actual name of the city, uh, but the parking, when you get there, I have some issues with the way they do the parking. The one of the biggest parkings, it's kind of like centrally located in middle of the compound, campus, hospital campus, however you want to call it, and it's convenient. If you park in that spot, it's kind of fairly short distance to walk anywhere. Uh, the problem that I see with that, the parking lot is open to the public, but it's not open to the public. It's open to the public if they park your car. So you got to pull up in front of the emergency department or some of the other buildings. You got to hand them your keys, and they gonna take your car and park it there, where it's kind of close to them. But if you want to park it yourself, you got to go to the sides. Which, if you park, they have a new parking deck, and if you park at that one parking deck, which is completely on one side of the compound, it might take you 10 minutes to walk all the way to the other side if you got an appointment on the other side. So I never liked the way they do that. I understand a lot of those guys that part their veterans themselves. They try to give them jobs. But in my opinion, what they can do, they can have those veterans that are parking cars for you, for the customer veterans. They can use the parking garage that's further down, and they have those golf cars anyway, so they can park it down there and then drive themselves back to the facility where they pick the cars up and leave that middle parking lot that's convenient for everybody for people to park. Because I don't want somebody parking my car. I don't like somebody driving my car. I don't want somebody that I don't know being in my car. Another thing that I kind of I don't get. I mean, they preach all this COVID precautions. You got to wear a mask at certain parts of the VA hospital, like emergency department. You still got to wear a mask, and until not that long ago, you had to wear it pretty much all over the place. VA facilities were probably the last ones when it comes to health facilities to stop requiring masks anywhere on the property. So they're preaching all this precautions about COVID and all that, but they want you to hand your car in front of ER to a guy that's going to park it for you. They just handled probably 300 cars before you. So if he's handling cars in front of the ER emergency room, most likely people that are coming there are people that are sick. So he's handled the cars of the sick people. He's getting in their cars, breathing the air, touching everything they touched in their car, and then you ex- or they expect you to let that same person get in your car and handle your car, and then who knows how many other cars behind you. So that's first thing. I mean, it might be uh, chicken shit for somebody, but I'm just kind of pointing at everything that I observed out there. So that's it for parking. Next thing, when it comes to scheduling short notice visits, it's kind of like emergency visits. So if you got a cold, ear infection, sinus infection, things like that, you kind of shit out of luck. You can't just call your doctor and say, "Hey, doctor, I got an ear infection. I'm not feeling well. Can I just come be seen real quick? Maybe see if I need antibiotics or anything like that." I mean, that's pretty much impossible to do. Uh, I tried multiple times. Uh, like recently, I had shingles, and I also had sinus issues. I had sinus infection, so I tried to call the number which you have. It's a call center. I don't even know where they at when they answer. So I called the number, tried to get in contact with my clinic. Each veteran's assigned to a certain clinic. They categorize them by color, silver, green, gold, or whatever. So I called and I tried to get in contact with my clinic to see if my doctor, primary doctor, has any availability, if they can squeeze me in. Of course, that's impossible. They're not even going to work with you. You get somebody that answers it from call center who knows where, and they basically go through the questions that they have on their in their book that they ask you, and they don't even attempt to. They first thing they do, they have or they transfer you to the triage nurse. Of course, triage nurse goes through her questions. Tell, like in my case, she told me, "Oh yeah, you have to be seen by a doctor within 8 hours," but she won't try to attempt to make contact with your doctor to see if your doctor has any availability. They just go base. They can pull up your doctor's schedule, but they're not in your doctor's office. I mean, they might be in 3 states away, uh, and sometimes doctor might have short notice cancellations, or somebody gets done quicker. Kind of like a civilian doctor you call in. Usually they can squeeze you in. They find 15 minutes here and there. Well, they won't even attempt to do that with VA primary. And you can't get hold of the nurse at VA primary. I mean, that's impossible. You don't have a direct number that you can call. At least in my case, I was never able to get the direct number to call. But when you go and see your doctor for visits, they always tell you, "Oh yeah, just if you have the issue, just call. We'll try to work you in." But the problem is you can't get to them. So triage nurse will do her questions, and she'll tell you, uh, well, you need to be seen within certain amount of number of hours. Some VA facilities, they do have same day clinic, but the facilities I go to, they don't. Then they'll offer to do a video call with the doctor. Well, I never had good experience with video calls. Things wouldn't call you on time or disconnect. And when I call about the shingles, they offered to do a video call, which I don't want to do video call for shingles. I want to be able for him to actually see me in person and see actually if that's the case. And also for the infection, I want to be able to, I mean, they looking up your nose and your ears to determine if you have infection or not. I mean, doing it through the video is a bunch of BS, in my opinion. So I couldn't get an appointment. So my only other choice was basically go to the ER, go to the VA's ER, and that's what I ended up doing. And over the years, that's one thing I always had to do. You cannot see the doctor on a short notice if you're sick. They'll schedule your appointment 2 3 weeks down the road. I mean, if you got cold, you got sinus infection, something kind of that usually in civilian world you've seen that same day or next day, that's not something you want to wait 3 4 weeks to be seen. Uh, so that just that the scheduling, it's horrible. They, in my opinion, a lot of that would be solved if they split some of their scheduling staff and actually assign them to each clinic, to each doctor's office. So that way, if you have issues with something and you need to see a doctor right away, you can call your doctor right away and they'll have their staff that can answer and say, oh, yeah, if somebody canceled, we can see you. But the way it works now, it's horrible, in my opinion. Or if they can't do it, I mean, maybe just disband it and give veterans civilian insurance where they can go outside VA and see doctors there. Uh, Another thing, convenience of self-service machines. They used to have these self-service machines, kind of like this ATM-looking kiosk thing. When you come in there for your appointment, you can check in through it. The veterans that are eligible for the mileage reimbursement, after your appointment, you just scan your VA card and confirm your information, and automatically has your last appointment. It's connected to the scheduled appointments, and they're gonna pay you the mileage. Well, they couple of years ago, probably around time COVID started, they took those machines out. So now you either got to go to the travel department, wait there, fill out the paperwork, or what they tell you, go online and fill the stuff out. Well, I tried to do it online, and one time I tried it. I mean, they made this stuff so difficult to do it. I done it one time and never actually got paid, so I guess I didn't even do it right. And there's a lot of veterans that you see there that are 60 plus years old that most of them don't even know how to use a smartphone, and you expecting them to go and do all this stuff online, fill stuff out, and those guys, and I talked to quite a few of them, they don't even know how to do that. Like I say, a lot of them don't even know how to use a smartphone, and you expecting them to do all this stuff that you made it more convenient for you but more difficult for veterans. If they just left those self-service kiosks, I think they were a lot easier for everybody, even those guys that didn't know a lot about technology and going online and doing all this stuff. They could scan their card, punch a couple of buttons, and be done with it. Next thing is, I think there are too many civilian employees that basically don't give a shit. They are non-veterans, never served, and in my opinion, and from the experience that I have received, they kind of, some of them are, I don't know if it's like jealous or they look down upon you. And if you're one of those employees, if you don't agree with it, I mean, that's you, right? And I'm not saying all of them are. There's some that are genuine, that care. You can tell. I mean, we're not the dumbasses. Just because you're a veteran, you're not a jackass. I mean, a lot of people might see us like that, but when you just have a general conversation with somebody, you can tell if they're genuine or not. And all of them will tell you they're kind of like, Chick-fil-A has, it was my pleasure. The VA, Veterans Administration employees will always tell you, thank you for your service. That's one of those things they mandate. And you can tell if people really mean it or not. And you don't have to tell me that. I don't care if you tell me thank you for your service. I'm not there for you to thank me for the service. I'm there to get the service the Veteran Services provides, but at least do your job. I mean, you'll, and just give you an example, you'll get there, for example, to check in, and usually depends what clinic you go to, they'll have a line or they'll have a sign, wait here to be called, and you'll get there, and this happened many times, you'll get there and behind the check-in desk, there's like 4 or 5 ladies, I mean, just giggling, shooting shit, talking about their hair, all that, and they ignoring you. You're standing there, they just ignoring you, and then finally one will feel like checking you in, and she'll call you up, and you'll go up there. It's one of those when she's talking to you, checking you in, but she never even looks at you. She's talking to her friend, a co-worker. They talking something not even related. That right there tells me they don't give a shit about you. They're there to do the job, and they're just going through the motions, so they get their paycheck. what they can do, at least take 30 seconds to actually address me the way you should, or the way you would if you work somewhere in civilian world. And that's a problem. I think if you work in civilian world, especially for a doctor's office, you working at the front desk are a reflection of that office. However you behave, however your attitude is towards the patients, it reflects the whole clinic. So if you are a jackass, and if you don't treat the patients right, patient's gonna leave. Well, private clinics, they don't like that. They don't like losing patients. So they'll make sure that their staff treats their patients good, so they don't lose the patient. It's a business. Basically, in civilian world, doctors don't become doctors just to help you. I mean, they have a reason they want to help people, but they also do it for the money. If there was no money, I guarantee you 90% of them wouldn't do their profession. So if the staff's not treating patients right, they're going to lose the patients. So customer service is number one when it comes to civilian doctors. Well, the difference with VA, it's a federal job. I mean, you can do all kinds of shit before you get fired. And a lot of those civilians, they just go through the motions. They come there, do the bare minimum. They bitch while they doing it, but in reality, they have some of the safest jobs out there. It's not easy to get fired from the federal job. I mean, you got to fuck up real bad. But the customers' opinion at VA don't matter. The veterans that are customers there, it don't matter how many surveys you fill out or if you complain. Well, first, if you want to complain, there's really nobody to complain to. And even if you complain, nothing happens. I mean, they don't go nowhere. So you're just wasting your time. So the customer service is non-existent because it don't affect their job, because they're not losing patients. And even if they did, they're still getting paid. It's not like civilian world when they lose patients, they don't have uh, insurance paying them, so they're losing money. Well, at VA, they still getting their paychecks, regardless if they see 10 patients or 100 patients that day. So that's my gripe on that. Now, when it comes to claims, like if you have claims with disability claims, compensation claims, stuff like that, once you file for the claim, there's really nobody that you can talk to about the claim. You kind of left at their mercy. There's nobody you can call to check on it. Well, you can call 1-800 numbers and all that, and you get, once again, somebody in call center that just pulls up the stuff on computer and tells you basically same shit you can see when you check it yourself. But there's no way for you to actually get in contact, for example, person that's assigned to your claim, where you can actually talk to them. And a lot of times there might be some small mistake or something, some form that needs to be done different, and they'll take 6-9 months with the claim, and then they just send you a letter basically, oh, that was filled out on the wrong paperwork. Stuff that if you were able to actually talk to them during the whole process, that something that would take 2 minutes of talking to them, that could actually get resolved, where the claim don't have to be kicked back, for example. I think for them it's easier to look for a quick reason to deny the claim than actually put time to justify and approving it. That's just my opinion. I mean, everybody has their opinions, just like I do, and that's my opinion, at least from my experience with dealing with them. And like I say, everybody has different experiences, but I know there's a lot of veterans out there that I keep in contact with that are patients at VA that have same experience as me. And then there's veterans that actually started going to the VA, and after being treated the way they were, they just stopped going. So they just gave up, and they don't go. Some of them don't even have insurance outside. They just won't go to the VA. And like I say, I think there's some people put you down. Oh, you expecting the free treatment, all that. Well, the way I look at it, when you joined the military, you signed up for certain things, certain benefits, like a GI Bill and stuff like that. Well, the way I'm looking at it, the post-service VA uh, uh, care, if you qualify for, it's one of those benefits. So you served, you got honorable discharge, you were deployed in combat, you were wounded, disabled, whatever your situation is, you earned that right. That was one of those benefits when you signed up for it. They promised you that. It comes with other that's the way I look at it. So if you're eligible for it, I mean, you should use it. And we're not asking for, as a veterans, we're not asking for a special treatment. We're just asking for the VA to do their job. Uh, Basically, if VA would treat the veteran patients same way as civilian clinics treat their patients, a lot of those problems would be resolved. But like I say, the customer service at the VA and customer service in private sector is completely different. Uh, Now, I mean, I'm not going to just bash it. I'm going to mention a few things that I think are good things too with the VA. I think actual doctors, when you go and actually see the doctors, in my opinion, are top notch. They actually try to help you. They spend more time with you. They try to find the issue, whatever issue you have, or resolve it and help you. There are some that just try to prescribe you medications, but I think majority, at least from my experience, it don't matter if it's specialty, primary care, or ER, those doctors are actually try to help you. Uh, so that's one good thing. When I mentioned claims earlier, I think wait time for the claims it's shorter than what it was. Used to be year plus or so. Now I think it's like between 6 and 9 months. So that's went down. I know VA has hired a lot of new examiners. I know they'll lose a lot too, but the number of examiners, as far as I know, is higher. Uh, Scheduling non-emergency visits. So say you need to schedule just regular primary checkup or a specialist and all that. It's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be months. Now it'll be reasonable time. Like if it's not an emergency, you need to see your doctor for something that can wait. You can usually uh, get to see your doctor within a month or so. At least that's been from my experience. And I know 10 years ago or so, that was impossible. You call to schedule a appointment with your doctor, regardless of emergency or not, you are looking at months and months. So that's better. That part got better. ER service. ER service, I think it's one of the quickest ERs you can ever go to. You'll go to civilian world ERs, especially bigger cities. I mean, unless you're bleeding to death and need immediate attention, you're going to be there whole night. I mean, it takes forever. At the VA, and I mentioned my shingles and sinuses issue earlier, how I tried to get an appointment. Well, I couldn't get an appointment, so I ended up going to the ER. I was in and out with medication, all that, probably an hour and a half. And from my prior experiences visiting VA ER, their service goes quick. I can't complain. I think you get top-notch service when it comes to the ER. And another good thing about VA that it's down, or I can say negative in civilian world and positive at the VA, is if you need like a CT scans, MRI, stuff like that. Usually in civilian world, you got to get insurance approvals. It takes a while to do it. With VA, it goes fairly quick. Usually there's, as far as I know, there's no like insurance approval or anything like that. They not going to try to do a bunch of, if your doctor suspects something that might require CT or MRI, they'll send you. And I had cases with the CT scans. Like when I broke my shoulder, it was done pretty much right away. In civilian world, usually if even if they suspect something that requires those, a lot of times you got to have a insurance approval and stuff like that. So that's one positive thing about VA. So like I say, I'm not just going to bash them, I'm going to mention good things too. But in conclusion, yeah, VA has got a lot better than what it was, but it could get a lot more better. I think uh, if they VA gets a lot of money from the government, from Congress approves. I don't even know how much money each year. Uh, and like I say, there's some people that look at you down, like you abusing government. Hey, the way I look at it, that's your benefit that you earned when you served. I mean, many of us bled for it, so spilled you sweat. That's your benefit that you earned when you served. That's the way I look at it. And you, if you are eligible for it, you should use it. Who gives a shit what people think? I think that a lot of those people that think that are the ones that are working there that are the problem. But if they can't uh, handle it or do it the way it should be done, I think one thing, they probably save the money. They can close down the facilities, all that stuff, save money on that, sell property, and just assign insurance, kind of like civilian insurance to veterans, and send them out there in the civilian world. Break down VA clinics and spread them around the communities uh, where the veterans would just go to civilian doctors with VA insurance. If in my case, luckily I live fairly close to 3 facilities, but there's veterans that might have to drive 2 hours to the closest VA facility. So in their case, you might actually help them out, because usually it don't matter where you live at. Usually you got a doctor fairly close to you. So that's it for my observations, opinions on quality of the service that veterans receive from the veteran administrations, Veterans Affairs. And if you have any comments, questions, gripes, complaints, whatever, you're more than welcome to leave it in the comment. And thank you for watching.